We've had almost $12 billion worth of signature dark pool prints this week so far, and we're only at Wednesday. That is very, very rare, guys. You can see today we had 3.1 billion in premium at the 391.82 level. Even crazier on Tuesday, so yesterday, we had, as you can see here, 5.7 billion in premium. This is really rare. We very rarely see over 3 billion, as you just saw, but to see something over 5 billion, it takes like a few months to see a print like that. So this is very substantial. This is at the 385.36 level. And then of course on Monday as well, we also had quite a bit. You can see here we had 2.6 billion in premium at the 385.90 level. So first of all, a lot of prints in this 385 range. Also, of course, today we had that 391 level that also got hit. So these 3 days so far this week have had a ton of dark pool, in my opinion, accumulation, which may sound weird because, as you guys know, if you are subscribed to the channel, which if you're new here, do make sure to subscribe below. But you guys know that I am a bear, especially macro-wise for this year. I do suspect there will be more downside. However, if we look over here, first of all, as you can see from this line, the 18-day cycle worked yet again. I shared this in the Sunday prep video for the week. You can see that we did print a bottom exactly on this day. So yet again, as you saw from this past time back here, we had a high print before it marked a reversal. Because remember, these are my reversal dates. This is one of the cycles of many cycles that I have that I shared with you guys on the Sunday video. So this prompted a reversal to the upside, and so far we've been going up since this reversal date hit on March 13th. But on top of that, as you can see, if we go here to the 15-minute chart, this 385 range around this area over here, and I'll just draw a box to make it a bit more simple, but this like 385-ish range down around this area has been able to hold so far. We have yet to flush below this level. Like, yes, we did have some price interaction below it earlier today, but still we closed above it, and we have yet to go decisively below this 385 range. And on top of that, we do have that 391 level likely to approach here within the next couple days. So do note this for sure, because as long as we stay above, and the longer that we stay above this 385 range, which I just showed you, we had the 2 large signature dark pool prints at this level, which by the way, I forgot to even show you here. We had a 1 billion for a 4 singular dark pool prints. These are different than the signature. Remember, signature are on European exchanges, so they are delayed by 24 hours. The singular ones hit the tape real time. So this was accumulation of 4 of them for 1 billion in premium at the 385.89 level. So right next to this 385.90 level. So again, this level or this range in the 385 to 386, this is very crucial, and it's going to act as a pivot zone for bullishness if we stay above, and of course bearishness if we are able to fall below. So definitely watch this. It is a battleground. It was a battleground at least today. As you can see, we're kind of trading back and forth around this range. It was able to close above, but do note this is a very critical line, and I did say earlier in the video that I do suspect this is a form of accumulation. And of course, I'm a bear, but there is potential for short covering rallies as we go down. One of the reasons why I think there's the potential that this is accumulation is, first of all, we have sold off quite a bit now. We've sold off all the way from like around close to like 4,200 on SPX. And as you can see here, just based on this 50-minute chart, we've been selling off for quite a while. Typically, big money is not selling after the price has fallen down a lot. You typically see them sell. For example, if we saw a rally like we saw back here in early March, they typically sell near the highs of that. Also, a perfect time to sell would be during this big upward trend that we had previously, all the way throughout the early portion of this year. This is when they sell incrementally on the way up. So it'd be pretty uncommon to see them selling around this level right here. So that's one thing. That's just a basic assumption, of course. But something else that's very interesting at the moment is, as you can see over here, we are right on this downward trend line for SPX. This is the one that goes all the way to the all-time highs. I say it every single time in each video, but of course we are interacting with it right now, so it's very crucial. The one that goes to all-time highs up here. If you go to the 50-minute chart again, you can see that we are interacting with this line intraday. We've bounced off of it a couple times now, and price has basically been pinned to it so far. This is a very crucial line, and it's the first time we've retested it now after breaking out quite a while ago, all the way back here when we broke out of it for the first time. This is all the way back in the 20th to 23rd-ish of January, and we broke out of it. It's the first time we've retested it so far, so I would assume there would be at least some form of a bounce. It doesn't have to be anything super extreme, like we continue and just pass like highs from previous highs that we made from up here, but still a bounce nonetheless, because this is a very good technical support level, and we tend to see bounces off those technical supports. On top of that, we are pretty oversold right now. We've been selling off for quite a while, so again, would not be that surprised to see some form of bounce even further than what we saw from back here for this this minor bounce. So I am still monitoring that. And also on top of that, if we look at the VIX, this is actually very interesting. The VIX has spiked a ton the last couple days. And of course, we had all of the bank issues from this past week, which really did bring a lot more fear into the markets. And of course, we had this big upward spike in the VIX. No surprise, as people were trying to hedge their positions, trying to buy that protection if there were to be kind of like people were talking about this past weekend, a bank run or something like that. I do believe this is kind of overblown, at least at the moment. I find it unlikely that the VIX will close fairly high going into VIXpiration. We tend to see a larger spike after VIXpiration. That's basically the equivalent to OPEX, but just for the VIX. It's when all those contracts expire, at least for this month. It would be March 22nd. Typically, it's the Wednesday of OPEX, which would have been today, but this time is a bit different. It would be next Wednesday, which also happens to be that FOMC date. So pretty crazy for next week as well. We have a lot of events approaching, but as you can see here, we have yet to be able to close above this line. This starts all the way back and the November 4th pivot. And I have two key trend lines right here. You can see it's actually interacted very nicely with VIX price action so far. We went above this first yellow line, continued all the way up. And we had 3 rejections off of this yellow line. We actually retested the bottom one this past day, and then it bounced up yet again to then get rejected for the 4th time. So we're basically range bound right now in the VIX between here and high 20s to even 30s like we've seen even today, earlier today that is. It seems a bit excessive, at least at the moment, especially because we've only been down. Like if you look back on SPY here, just on the daily chart, you can see we've only been down all the way from around this 415 range to around 389. That is not that much in the grand scheme of things. We've fallen a lot more in the past. And of course, there's some fear in the markets, but tends to be the fact that fear becomes overblown. At least we've just seen that in the past year so far. Whenever fear becomes overblown, it tends to create some form of a short covering rally, which is something that I'm monitoring right now, especially with all of the things that we're seeing with the dark pools, with the fact that we hit the downward trend line, oversold indicators, etc., etc. So I am watching for this. Again, still very bearish for the macro outlook. I would like to see if this would be an ideal scenario. Obviously, the world isn't ideal, but I would like to see some form of a chop/run up into next Wednesday. Of course, that's FOMC and VIXpiration. Then I could reassess for potential that we continue with this downward leg around that time range. We will continue with the downward leg for sure. The question is, when will that timing be? And I'd be pretty confident being able to decide based on next week price action if we did have a little bit of a run up going into next week. So I am watching for that. I will, of course, update you guys throughout the weekly prep video. And of course, the best way you can monitor basically where we are in the markets, or one of the best ways at least that I've personally noticed as of recent, would be the Dow Jones. As you can see here for the Dow Jones, we are right in this box still. We've had wicks below the downward trend line. Remember, this is a very similar downward trend line to what SPX has. We've had wicks below this downward trend line, but we've been able to stay above so far until we have a close below. I like to say a weekly close for that confirmation. Then we do not have confirmation of that further down leg yet. And as of now, this is acting as a support. It will be a weaker support this time around just because this is the second time we've touched it. But do monitor this, because confirmation below here is confirmation for the rest of the market, or at least one of the main variables that I'm watching. So do watch this for sure. Other than that though, appreciate you guys watching this video. We'll see what happens for the rest of the week, and a lot of fun times ahead, especially with volatility. Price action was crazy today, but that can mean a lot of good trade opportunity. Just make sure you always mitigate your risk. But I will see you guys next time on Sunday.